Hey, hey, that's his, that's mine, that's his, that's mine, and that's mine, and that's his, and that's mine, and that's his. Welcome to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. Hope you're having a blessed Sunday. I'm having fun this morning, and we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting, or I should say this afternoon, actually. We're going to be talking about intermittent fasting and the best way to do it. So let's get into the presentation. If you have any questions, post it in the comments below, okay? Let me pull up my presentation here and go through this real quick. Okay, so the best way to do intermittent fasting. So let's actually do a recap on what intermittent fasting actually is. So intermittent fasting, you're basically fasting for a period of time and then feasting, which is your eating window for a period of time. And typically that's over like a week span where there's some hours or some days that you're not eating anything that has calories. You're not consuming anything that has calories. During your fasting window, you're drinking water, you're drinking tea, basically anything without calories. And the purpose for that is so that to give your body and digestive system a break. So instead of focusing on digestion, which does use up a lot of energy by the body, it can focus on repairing, healing, and regenerating. So if you have some kind of ailment or in need of a fast because you're feeling, I don't know. So it could be something even as serious as like lupus. There's a book I'm going to show you, which you saw in the beginning of the show, where it talks about something as serious as lupus, which I've heard of and seen people die from lupus. There's science to show that intermittent fasting or fasting for a prolonged period of time, water fasting, actually helps that. Diabetic foot ulcers, if you've ever seen it, if you ever Google it, it's disgusting, but it's Dr. Fung up in Canada said he had a patient that healed from that within 2 weeks doing water fasting. So something as serious as those things, or something even as small as just having your digestive system feel better, if you're having leaky gut issues and things like that, just giving your digestive system a break, and then possibly doing something like an elimination diet to actually pinpoint what's triggering it. So you'll get some relief from not consuming foods, but you're going to want to find out what's triggering these things. All right, so that's basically just a quick rundown on what intermittent fasting is. So how to do it? There are a variety of possible fasting windows. The easy one, which I talked about in my book right here, is 12-12. So you fast for 12 hours, you feast for 12 hours. It doesn't mean you're eating continuously for 12 hours. It just means that basically you have a window. So let's say you wake up at 6 and you go to bed at 10, right? So your eating window will probably be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Your fasting window 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So it allows time to digest food before you're actually laying down and going to bed. So between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. you spread out your meals. That's the easy way to do intermittent fasting, which honestly I think everybody should be doing this. I think it's just easier and better for the digestive system and to get better night's sleep. Then there's medium, which I've recently started trying. Like last week or a couple weeks ago, I did 16-8 for a 7-day period. So 16-8 is basically 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feasting. Now, my stomach was growling so much in the morning. It was so uncomfortable and so embarrassing. And if I'm not around people, then I don't really care if my stomach is growling, but when I'm around people, it's quite embarrassing. So I've kind of altered this because I really like how it made my body feel, other than the growling stomach, and I like the way it made my mind feel. So I really liked it. Besides the embarrassment of just my stomach just being completely unruly and wanting to be fed, I had a pretty good experience. So I've kind of altered that to still do that, but not, when I'm going to be around other people. Um, so the more difficult kind of intermittent fasting is one meal a day. And one meal a day is basically you're fasting maybe 20 to 23 hours, right? But you have a 4-hour window where you can eat your meal. So if you're doing 12 to 4 or 4 to 8, at any point in that time, you can eat your one meal. There's alternate day fasting, where you are eating for a day, fasting for a day. It doesn't have to be like wake up to sleep time, as if like, so Sunday I'm not eating, Monday I am eating. It can be something like Sunday night at 7 p.m. to Monday night at 7 p.m. I'm not eating. And then Monday night 7 p.m. to Tuesday night 7 p.m. I am eating, like that. So it can overlap days as long as it's a 24-hour period. Then you have 5-2. You basically fast for 2 days out of every week. 6-1, you fast for 1 day out of every week. I've done a 6-1, not water fasting, but coconut water fasting, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I did it on Sundays, and I loved it because Sunday already has the energy of being more reflective and spiritual and, going within and all of that. So it's a lower energy day, and it just made sense for me. It's something I intuitively felt like I wanted to do. And coconut water in particular, fresh coconut water from the Young Thai coconut, I'm such a huge fan because it just transports me into the tropics, into the island. I'm just like, in my own little paradise. I get the dopamine drip, and it doesn't affect blood sugar. So it's like the perfect thing. It has enough sweetness to satisfy me, my hunger, and it has enough, there's no fat in the water, but it still feels satiating. So if that's something you ever wanted to try, and like just plain water is a little bit too extreme for you right now, coconut water is another option. I really enjoyed that. So the reason why these are difficult is because it's difficult to go from like eating regular and then not eating for 24 hours plus, or even one meal a day. Like most people, that's going to be a struggle. So it's like you kind of build yourself up to that. And like I said, I've been doing the 12-12 for a long time. 16-8, I'm ready for that. And I feel like my body needs it, but we'll talk about this later. You don't really have to do any of this. This is just something, if you feel called to try intermittent fasting, these are some of the options you have available for you. Other options, 1 weekend per month, water fasting, or actually anything non-caloric, basically. It doesn't have to be water. There's some like protein powders and things like that that don't have any calories, or just enough. If you're gonna still be like exercising and stuff like that, then you drink that, and that's completely fine. Or 1 week per year. So you can do any of these and they're still considered fasting. So what's the best way for you to intermittent fast? In my humble opinion, I would start where there's least resistance. Something that's similar to how you intuitively feel right now. Something that would be easy for you. If you feel called to do this, then oh my goodness, I have so much comments. I didn't know see them. Hey Stephanie. Hey, Mama's in the house. Hi Ned, how you doing? Nice to see you guys. I was so caught up in the presentation, I didn't even notice. But thank you for joining the party. Um, so yeah, start if you're interested in doing intermittent fasting. Start where there's least resistance. If you're normally the type of person who doesn't really like to do breakfast anyway, then doing the 16-8 will probably be very easy for you because you could basically start eating at lunchtime and finish your eating window 8 hours after. Um, and if your work schedule is pretty crazy, then you can find an eating window that works for you. So like let's say you work 7 a.m. to 3, or maybe you work 3 to 11. You're going to want to figure out the times when you typically would get hungry or really need to eat, you're ravenous, and then work out your window according to that. So you can really make it your own and make it work for you for any of these fasting plans. Now, just to recap, we did talk about the benefits last week, but just to recap the benefits for intermittent fasting, like I said, it gives the body rest from digestion so it can focus on healing. It helps with glycemic control. They have studies and stuff that show that it does help people with diabetes. It does help to reduce weight for people struggling with obesity. It decreases the risk of heart disease. And my favorite, all-time favorite, this one beats everything else, is that it protects against Alzheimer's disease because it slows the brain down, which allows it to recharge. And anything that's good for the brain, I'm just all over it right now. So like last week, we talked a little bit about the ketogenic diet, which does utilize intermittent fasting in its protocol as well. But that and intermittent fasting has been shown to protect against Alzheimer's disease. And next week, we're going to have a blogger on the show who is doing vegan keto and has been doing it for years and has, meal plans and things like that. So I know some of you guys expressed interest in having keto vegan meal plans. So that will be a very fun episode next week. Now, this is not for everybody. If you're pregnant and breastfeeding, if you are underage, if you're malnourished, or if you have a history of anemia and bulimia, you need to focus on nutrition and eating in a way that works for your body where it is right now and having a good relationship with food and not fasting. So this is not for you if you fall into any of these categories. Also, when you fast, it does induce the stress response in the body if it's for a prolonged period of time. So if you have adrenal fatigue or if you have issues with your thyroid, this may not be for you. Like I said, it's not for everyone. You don't need to do it. If you eat clean and you don't overeat and you feel good in your body and you're not feeling inspired to do this, don't do it. Some people in my group and in my community expressed interest in this, and I do think it's a great strategy. For some people, it's not for everybody, so it may not be for you. Let's see, what did I not touch on? So some people expressed to me that they're looking to lose weight, increase their energy, and heal inflammation, and this is why intermittent fasting was either recommended to them or it's something that they feel drawn to do for this purpose. Now, I know that juicing works really, really well for all of these issues: weight loss, increased energy, healing inflammation, and I put a link in the description for some juice recipes that you can get started. If you're looking to even get into intermittent fasting, I'm just going to pull this up again, these eating windows, and you're concerned about just doing a pure water fast, like during your fasting windows, or you want something more of a deeper cleanse or something like that, but you can't just do a pure water fast, you can incorporate juicing with these feasting windows. So for example, you want to do a cleanse and you don't have the money to spend on a fancy juice cleanse, or you don't want to spend money on a whole bunch of produce, you have a limited budget or whatever. That's where you can go with the 16-8 intermittent fasting schedule and drink water and tea and non-caloric beverages for the 16 hours, and during your 8-hour window, drink green juices with fruit and vegetables and things like that. So you're getting nutrition in the 8-hour and you're still only on liquids. You can do the same thing, like I said, with the 6-1. I did coconut water. You can even do juices where you're juicing once a week or juicing 2 days out of every week. However you want to do it, you can make it work for you. I think that having incorporating juicing instead of being restricted to just water for a cleanse is a great entryway into water fasting, because water fasting is pretty intense and like next level. So it's short and sweet today. That's all I have for you today. I definitely want to talk more about fasting in the coming days, because like I said, I think it's the stuff that I'm reading and learning about who's being helped on it, especially with lupus. Lupus stood out to me because I have never seen anyone really survive lupus. And so to hear that people are having a turnaround from such a severe disease with water fasting just goes to show the body has what it needs to heal and regenerate, and we just need to allow it to do its work. So the book that I'm talking about, here we go. This book is by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, one of my favorite doctors. And so he wrote a book on fasting. There's also a pretty decent book by Dr. Fung, who's up in Canada and recommends fasting to all his patients. He's not a proponent of plant-based eating like Dr. Fuhrman is. And that's because in his eyes, from his experience working with his patients, people struggle with sticking to any one diet, and instead of him spending that time trying to get them to stick to a diet, he just figured that fasting is easier. In my opinion and in my experience, fasting is just as hard as any diet that you don't resonate with off the bat. You know, if you're doing a diet or eating plan that you believe in and you have a strong why for it, it's very easy to do it, right? So like the vegans who are animal activists, when they see meat, they see flesh on the plate. It's a dead animal, it's carcass, right? So they're not interested in eating dead bodies, right? Because they have this they have an ideology, a value system that's so strong within them that they're not going to do it. They don't see it as food, right? So it's like with something like fasting, you're going from the body naturally wants to eat something and you're not eating. I think it's very difficult. And I think anybody who has fasted could say the same, especially in the beginning as your body's adjusting and your mind is adjusting from going from eating to not eating. It's pretty difficult. It's more one of those like willpower things. Like if you have a serious issue, you're going to be more motivated than someone who is like kind of just playing around with it. Okay, Nad says, if I have blended juice in the morning and afternoon, then a meal in the evening, do you consider it a fast? Not really, because if you have a blended juice in the morning and in the afternoon and a meal in the evening, that's kind of like, depending on the hours too, that could be like a 12 to 12 intermittent fasting. So if your first thing in the morning is like 7 a.m. you're having a juice, and then 12 p.m. you're having a juice, and then in the evening at 6 o'clock you're having a meal, each time your body has to digest has to digest it. I'm not saying it's bad. I think that's a great plan. If that's something that's feasible for your lifestyle right now, it's something that you're interested in doing, and it will help you reach your goals, which I don't really know your personal situation, but I know for a lot of people, if they're trying to lose weight or they're trying to infuse more nutrition into their body, that would be a great eating plan. But it's not necessarily a long-term fast. It could be a 12-12 fast. Um, because with fasting, your body is not, digesting proteins, carbs, sugars, and assimilating that and all that stuff. There's a long process and lots of energy that goes into actually digesting food. So every time we consume carbs, consume protein, that's work, consume fat, that's work for the body to do. And it's focused on that. Once it's doing that, it's not healing or regenerating. If you're juicing, that's basically going straight to the bloodstream, right? There's still some work that's happening there, but you're not going through heavy digestion. It's going in very quickly and assimilating very quickly. So there's no stress, there's no pressure on the digestive system at all. How about water until evening? I have vegetable juice. Yeah, so that's more like that's like using that one meal a day concept, and instead of that meal, you're doing a juice. And at that point, I would definitely consider that a very deep detox or a deep fast. That's almost close to doing water fasting the entire day, except for that 1 hour you're having juice. Which during Lent or Ramadan or any of these, like, I think, at that time where other people are doing fasting windows and things like that, that's a really good plan if you want to get into that spiritual state, or you want to just give your body a break, give it a rest. I love that idea. I love both of the ideas. And that's how like when you look at these the fasting windows, you have a variety of options, and you incorporate the juicing with that. You incorporate healthy eating after it, because one of the things you want to really be careful of, maybe not you guys viewing live with me right now, but whoever's going to watch the replay, is that you don't want to do McDonald's, do a fast, and then go back to McDonald's. You're putting your body through too much of a shock, and it's going to be miserable for you. It's going to be really miserable, and you will undo whatever progress was made. So it's always recommended to learn healthy nutrition and incorporate that before and after with this, so that you can do it very safely. If you have a severe illness, something like I mentioned earlier, like the diabetic foot ulcers or lupus, or something really, really serious, or if you're obese, you're on medication or something like that, you definitely want to do a medically supervised fast. So keep your doctor abreast of what you're doing, so that he can monitor whatever medication you're taking, because he or she is the expert on pharmaceutical drugs, and can let you know if there's anything that you need to be aware of or consider based off of your medical situation. Okay, and I definitely recommend this book by Dr. Furman. I love Dr. Furman because he loves to break down the science. If you're a nutrition nerd, you love science, and you need to hear it, he's going to break it down for you. And he's going to give you some valuable examples and information on what he's done with his own patients. So definitely get that book, read it. It's required reading. And if you're somebody who eats meat and you haven't yet gotten over that, or you're not interested in getting over it, you may be interested in reading Dr. Fung's book. It's called The Complete Guide to Fasting, or The Complete Guide to Intermittent Fasting. Just to hear, I think regardless of your dietary, it's always good to hear both sides of the conversation, to see how people are using it, hear these different examples of people who are intermittent fasting, why they're doing it, what the benefits they've received from it, and from the doctor's perspective what's going on. A lot of times with these doctors, when they talk about why they don't promote a plant-based diet, they always say that it's the patient finds it too difficult to do. They can't stick to it. And that's where a health coach comes into play. You come to me and you tell me, this is what I want to do, and I help you get there. I give you the resources, I give you the support, I give you the guidance, I give you the accountability. It's all built into the coaching program. So if you're interested in that, you can, contact me in the link below. And that's it for me today. I don't know, did you guys have any more questions? Definitely make sure you pick up this book and read it, because he even goes into detail on what he says is the healthiest way to eat. He's called the nutritarian, and he has the nutritarian system, basically promoting nutrient dense foods, whole plant-based foods with meat non-existent, or as a garnish to the dish if you have to have it. All right, so have a great day, you guys, and we will be back here next Sunday, same time, talking about how to do ketogenic vegan with an expert. Where can I find this book? Oh, you can find this book on Dr. Furman's website, and I'll add the link. I'll reply to your comment with the link, and it's also available on Amazon. So you can just Google Fasting and Eating for Health by Dr. Joel Furman. All right. Have a great Sunday.